The graveyard is full of people who talked their way out of their destiny. The cemetery is packed with dreams that were shared too early, visions that were exposed before they were ready, assignments that were revealed before they were developed. Your mouth is the most dangerous weapon you possess because it has the power to terminate what has not yet been born. Most people believe that communication is always good, that transparency is always wisdom, that sharing your plans is a sign of confidence. Let me submit to you that this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how creation works. Every seed that is planted must first be hidden. Every embryo must develop in darkness. Every blueprint must be protected before construction begins. Yet you have been conditioned to believe that speaking is power, when silence is often the highest form of strength. You live in a generation that has confused visibility with validity. You think if people don't know what you're doing, it doesn't matter. So you announce, you post, you share, you broadcast, and you wonder why your dreams keep dying before they manifest. The manufacturer never releases the product before it's complete. The architect never shows the blueprint to everyone. The military never announces the strategy before the battle. But you tell everyone everything. And then you're shocked when your enemies know exactly how to stop you. When your competition knows exactly how to block you. When negativity knows exactly where to attack you. Where purpose is not known. Abuse is inevitable. And where timing is not understood, premature exposure becomes inevitable. Let me show you something you need to understand about the process of creation. Every manufacturer has a research and development department. This is where the prototype is built, tested, refined, corrected, adjusted, and perfected. This department is not open to the public. It is not broadcast on social media. It is protected, secured, and hidden because the manufacturer understands that what is being developed is valuable, and premature exposure could lead to theft, sabotage, or competition. Your life operates on the same principle. There is a season when what you carry must remain hidden, not because you're being secretive, but because you're being strategic. Not everything that is real needs to be revealed. Not everything that is true needs to be told. Not everything that is happening needs to be announced. The problem with your generation is that you have been trained to perform. You have been conditioned to prove. You have been programmed to defend. And in your rush to be seen, you have exposed what should have been protected. You don't need motivation. You need revelation. You need to understand that silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. Silence is not fear. It is strategy. Silence is not emptiness. It is incubation. When a woman is pregnant, the baby develops in silence, in darkness, in hiddenness. For 9 months, nobody sees what is forming. Nobody knows the exact details of what is being created. The mother protects the environment, guards what she consumes, monitors who she allows to speak into her life, because she understands that what is being formed is fragile and needs the right conditions to develop properly. But you announce your pregnancy in the first week. You reveal your business idea before you've done the research. You share your vision before you've built the capacity. You tell your plans to people who don't have the maturity to handle them. And then you wonder why things fall apart, why doors close, why opposition rises, why confusion comes. It's not spiritual warfare. It's strategic failure. You violated the principle of timing. You exposed what needed to be covered. You spoke when you should have been silent. Now let me submit to you 7 principles about the power of strategic silence. The first principle is this: silence protects potential. Potential is the untapped ability within you. It is the assignment that has not yet been activated. It is the greatness that has not yet been expressed. When you speak about your potential prematurely, you give your enemy a blueprint of how to stop you. You give jealousy a target. You give doubt an opportunity. You give negativity a point of entry. The manufacturer never shows the potential of the product before the product is ready. Because potential, when exposed too early, it becomes vulnerable. Every time you tell someone what you're going to do before you've done the work to prepare for it, you are gambling with your future. You are risking your assignment. You are exposing your seed before it has had time to germinate. The second principle is this: silence creates mystery, and mystery commands attention. When everyone knows everything about you, there is nothing left to discover. There is no intrigue. There is no curiosity. There is no reason to watch. You have given away all your cards. You have shown all your moves. You have revealed all your strategy, And in doing so, you have lost your advantage. Think about the most powerful leaders in history. They didn't announce everything they were planning. They moved in silence. They operated with discretion. They understood that the element of surprise is a weapon. And premature revelation destroys that weapon. The manufacturer builds anticipation by controlling information. The movie studio doesn't show you the entire film before release. The company doesn't tell you every detail of the new product before launch. They give you glimpses, hints, suggestions, because they understand that mystery creates demand. The third principle is this: silence filters your circle. When you talk too much, you attract the wrong people. You attract those who are curious but not committed. Those who want information but not transformation. Those who want to know your business but not help your business. Strategic silence forces people to prove their loyalty, to demonstrate their value, to show their character before you give them access to your vision. Not everyone deserves to know what you're building. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your plans. Not everyone has demonstrated the maturity to handle your assignment. When you zip your mouth, you force people to qualify themselves by their actions, not their words, by their fruit, not their flattery, by their consistency, not their curiosity. Let me tell you a story. There was a farmer who had developed a new seed, a seed that could produce 10 times the normal harvest. He was so excited about this discovery that he told everyone in his village. He explained how he had crossbred different plants, how he had tested the soil, how he had calculated the perfect conditions. The whole village knew about his seed. They knew when he would plant it. They knew where his field was. They knew what it would produce. One night before planting season, someone came and stole his seeds. By the time he discovered the theft, his seeds were already planted in someone else's field, and that person took credit for the discovery. The farmer had done all the work, all the research, all the testing, but because he couldn't zip his mouth. Someone else received the reward. His mouth, not his enemy, destroyed his opportunity. The fourth principle is this: silence builds discipline. Every time you resist the urge to speak, you are training yourself in self-control. You are developing the muscle of restraint. You are learning to manage your emotions, to control your impulses, to govern your reactions. Most people fail in life not because they lack talent, but because they lack discipline. They cannot control their tongue. They cannot manage their emotions. They cannot restrain their need for validation. And so they speak, they react, they defend, they explain. And in doing so, they reveal their weakness. A kingdom ruler does not explain himself to everyone. A king does not defend his decisions to the crowd. A person of authority does not need constant validation because their authority comes from within, not from without. When you learn to zip your mouth, you are learning to be a king. You are training yourself to operate from a position of internal authority rather than external approval. The fifth principle is this: silence preserves energy. Every word you speak requires energy. Every explanation you give drains your power. Every defense you mount depletes your resources. When you constantly talk about what you're going to do, you use up the energy that should be invested in actually doing it. You spend your strength in conversation rather than in construction. You exhaust yourself in explanation rather than in execution. Think about a battery. If you leave the battery connected to something that drains it without recharging it, eventually the battery dies. Your words work the same way. When you constantly speak about your plans, your dreams, your goals, you are draining the battery of motivation. You are depleting the power source of action. And then when it's time to actually work, you have no energy left. You have talked yourself tired. You have explained yourself empty. The sixth principle is this: silence protects the process. Every great work goes through an ugly phase. Every masterpiece starts as a mess. Every finished product begins as a rough draft. If you expose the process too early, people will judge the mess and miss the masterpiece. They will criticize the rough draft and never see the final version. They will mock the prototype and never appreciate the product. The manufacturer knows this. That's why the factory is closed to the public during production. That's why the kitchen is separate from the dining room. That's why the rehearsal happens before the performance. You are in process. You are being refined. You are being developed. And if you expose that process to everyone, their premature judgment will abort your progress. Their uninformed criticism will discourage your continuation. Their negative input will contaminate your development. The seventh principle is this: silence honors timing. There is a right time for everything, a right time to speak, and a right time to be silent, a right time to reveal, and a right time to conceal, a right time to show, and a right time to hide. The problem is that most people don't understand timing. They speak too early. They reveal too soon. They announce before activation. They celebrate before completion. And because they violated the principle of timing, they abort the principle of manifestation. Let me submit to you that just because something is true doesn't mean it's time. Just because something is real doesn't mean it should be revealed. Just because you know something doesn't mean others need to know it. Timing is everything, and premature exposure is a violation of divine order. Now let me tell you another story. There was a young architect who designed a revolutionary building, a structure that had never been seen before. He was so proud of his design that he showed it to everyone. He displayed it at conferences. He posted it online. He shared it with colleagues. Within months, 3 different companies had modified his design and built their own versions. By the time he had raised the money to build his structure, the market was already flooded with copies. His design, his vision, his innovation was stolen, not by force, but by his own mouth. He had given away what should have been protected. He had shared what should have been secured. And he learned too late that some things are too valuable to be freely given. I need to interrupt this teaching right now and tell you something. You are running out of time. Every day you waste talking about what you're going to do is a day stolen from actually doing it. Every conversation you have defending your vision to people who will never support it is energy wasted. Every explanation you give to people who don't deserve access to your assignment is a violation of stewardship. Your potential is not a toy. It is a trust. Your assignment is not a topic of conversation. It is a mandate from your manufacturer. Your vision is not entertainment for the curious. It is a blueprint for the committed. And if you don't learn to zip your mouth, you will talk your way into poverty. You will explain your way into failure. You will discuss your way into defeat. Now let me show you how to zip your mouth. First, you must identify who deserves access to your vision. Not everyone who asks is qualified to know. Not everyone who's curious is trustworthy. Not everyone who seems interested is loyal. Create 3 circles in your life. The outer circle is for acquaintances, people who know your name but don't know your assignment. The middle circle is for associates, people who know what you do but not why you do it. The inner circle is for advisors, people who have proven their loyalty, demonstrated their wisdom, and earned the right to speak into your life. Give the outer circle general information. Give the middle circle selective information. Give the inner circle strategic information. And guard this structure with your life, because your future depends on it. Second, you must learn to recognize the difference between sharing and seeking validation. When you share your vision, you are giving information. When you seek validation, you are begging for approval. Sharing comes from confidence. Validation seeking comes from insecurity. Sharing is strategic. Validation seeking is emotional. Sharing has a purpose. Validation seeking has a need. Before you speak, ask yourself, am I sharing this because it serves my assignment? Or am I saying this because I need approval? Am I revealing this because it's time? Or am I exposing this because I'm insecure? If your motivation is validation, zip your mouth. Work in silence. Let your results speak. Let your fruit announce you. Let your success validate you. Third, you must practice the 24-hour rule. When something good happens, when you receive a breakthrough, when you get a revelation, when you make progress, resist the urge to announce it immediately. Wait 24 hours. Let it settle. Let it solidify. Let it become real in your spirit before you make it public with your mouth. Most people lose their blessing announcing it before it's secured. They celebrate before completion. They testify before manifestation. They announce before activation. And in doing so, they give the enemy an opportunity to steal what hasn't been locked in yet. The 24-hour rule protects your blessing. It allows the thing to root itself in your life before you expose it to the environment of other people's opinions, jealousy, doubt, or negativity. Fourth, you must develop a coded language. You don't have to lie, but you don't have to reveal everything either. When people ask what you're doing, you can say, I'm working on some projects. When they ask about your plans, you can say, I'm in a season of development. When they probe for details, you can say, I'll share more when the time is right. You're not being dishonest. You're being strategic. You're not being secretive. You're being wise. You're not being closed. You're being selective. Learn to communicate without oversharing. Learn to answer without revealing. Learn to engage without exposing. This is not manipulation. This is wisdom. This is not game playing. This is government. This is not being fake. This is being strategic. Fifth, you must create a daily silence practice. Set aside time every day where you intentionally say nothing. Not just to others, but to yourself. No self-talk. No mental conversation. No internal dialogue. Just silence. This practice trains you to be comfortable in quietness. It develops your capacity for restraint. It builds your tolerance for mystery. It strengthens your discipline of discretion. Most people are addicted to noise. They cannot sit in silence. They cannot handle quietness. They must always be talking, explaining, defending, commenting, proving. But a person of power knows how to be silent. A person of authority is comfortable with mystery. A person of kingdom influence understands that silence is not emptiness. It is fullness waiting for the right moment to pour out. Let me tell you one more story before I release you. There was a sculptor who was commissioned to create a statue. For months, he worked in his studio, chipping away, shaping, refining, correcting. People would knock on his door and ask, can we see what you're creating? And he would say, not yet. They would say, just give us a glimpse. And he would say, when it's ready. They thought he was being prideful. They thought he was being secretive. They thought he was being difficult. But he understood something they didn't. He understood that premature exposure would invite premature judgment. That showing the unfinished work would create unnecessary criticism. That revealing the process would rob the final product of its impact. So he worked in silence. He created in privacy. He built without broadcasting. And when the day came for the unveiling, the statue was so magnificent, so breathtaking, so perfect, that the same people who had criticized his silence were now in awe of his work. His silence had protected his masterpiece. His discretion had preserved his excellence. His refusal to reveal prematurely had resulted in a revelation that changed everything. You are that sculptor. Your life is that statue. Your assignment is that masterpiece. And if you will learn to zip your mouth, if you will work in strategic silence, if you will develop in private what you will one day reveal in public, you will create something so powerful, so excellent, so undeniable, that no one will be able to ignore it. Your silence today is preparing your voice for tomorrow. Your hiddenness now is setting up your manifestation later. Your discretion in this season is protecting your display in the next season. But hear me clearly. This is not about being a hermit. This is not about isolation. This is not about cutting everyone off. This is about strategic communication. This is about selective sharing. This is about protecting what matters until it's ready to be revealed. You can still have conversations. You can still build relationships. You can still connect with people. But you do it with wisdom. You do it with discernment. You do it with the understanding that not everyone deserves access to everything. That not every question deserves an answer. That not every curiosity deserves satisfaction. You are not being mean. You are being mature. You are not being closed. You are being careful. You are not being secretive. You are being strategic. Your manufacturer designed you with a mouth, but also with the capacity to control that mouth. You were given the ability to speak, but also the wisdom to know when not to speak. The fact that you can say something doesn't mean you should. The fact that you know something doesn't mean you must share it. The fact that someone asked doesn't mean you must answer. You have permission to be silent. You have authority to withhold. You have the right to protect what you carry until the proper time of release. And when you operate with this understanding, you move from being a talker to being a builder. You shift from being an announcer to being an achiever. You transform from being someone who tells everyone what they're going to do to being someone who does it and lets their results speak for them. The world is full of talkers. The cemetery is packed with people who had great announcements but no accomplishments. The graveyard is filled with visions that were shared but never built, dreams that were discussed but never pursued, plans that were revealed but never executed. Don't add your name to that list. Don't let your mouth write a check your discipline can't cash. Don't allow your need for validation to abort your assignment. Don't permit your desire for attention to destroy your destiny. Zip your mouth. Guard your words. Protect your vision. Work in silence. Build in private. Create without announcing. Develop without broadcasting. And when the time comes, when the season is right, when the fruit is mature, then and only then, let your work speak. Let your results announce you. Let your success validate you. Let your fruit prove you. This is your reset moment. This is your turning point. This is the day you stop talking about what you're going to do and you start doing it. This is the hour you quit explaining your vision to people who can't see it and you start executing that vision in silence. This is the moment you recognize that your mouth has been your greatest enemy. And strategic silence will become your greatest weapon. From this day forward, you operate differently. You speak less and build more. You announce less and accomplish more. You defend less and deliver more. You explain less and execute more. You become a person of few words and much fruit. You become someone whose silence is pregnant with purpose, whose quietness is loaded with assignment, whose discretion is protecting destiny. Starting today, you will create a new practice. Every morning, before you speak to anyone, you will ask yourself 3 questions. Question 1, what am I protecting today? Question 2, who deserves access to my voice today? Question 3, what do I need to keep silent about today? These 3 questions will become your checkpoint system. They will guard your mouth. They will protect your assignment. They will preserve your future. And at the end of each day, you will evaluate. Did I talk too much today? Did I reveal what should have been protected? Did I share what should have been secured? If the answer is yes, you correct it tomorrow. You learn from it. You adjust. You improve. Because this is a skill. And like any skill, it requires practice, repetition, consistency, and commitment. Your life is about to shift. Because when you control your mouth, you control your destiny. When you guard your words, you protect your future. When you operate in strategic silence, you activate divine timing. When you stop announcing and start achieving, you become unstoppable. The manufacturer built you for dominion, but dominion requires discipline. It demands discretion. It necessitates the ability to hold things in confidence until the appointed time of release. You have that ability. You possess that capacity. You carry that power. Now use it, activate it, deploy it. Let silence become your strategy. Let discretion become your defense. Let timing become your teacher. And watch what happens when you build in private what others will celebrate in public. When you develop in silence what will speak volumes when released. When you protect in darkness what will shine in the light. You were not born to be a copy. You were manufactured to be an original. And originals don't need to announce themselves. They prove themselves. They don't need to defend themselves. They demonstrate themselves. They don't need validation from the crowd. They operate from the confidence of their creator. Be original, not a copy. Be a builder, not just a talker. Be a finisher, not just a starter. And let your life, your work, your fruit be the loudest announcement you ever make. Die empty, not because you said everything, but because you did everything. Not because you explained everything, but because you executed everything. Not because everyone knew your plans, but because everyone saw your results. The time is now. Zip your mouth and build your future.